Good morning, everyone. Welcome to an all-new edition of Artsbeat TV and Radio here on Westfield Community Programming Channel 15, 89.5 FM WSKB, and our media partners at Agawam Media and Southwick Community Programming. I'm Mark Auerbach. Ken Stomsky is our chief engineer today, and we are welcoming Paul Lambert from the Springfield Symphony Orchestra because the Springfield Symphony Orchestra is doing a first on Juneteenth Day, where they will be performing a special concert at Springfield Symphony Hall to celebrate an important holiday. Paul, it's good to see you.
Always good to see you, Mark. Thanks for having me.
You've just finished a terrific season. The orchestra and the musicians have come to terms on an agreement, and now you're doing a Juneteenth concert. Tell us about the Juneteenth first.
Well, first, thanks so much for the positive news and all the support you've given us through the year. It has been an extraordinary season, and we thought it was really important for us to do something special coming off this remarkable season as a way of first giving back to the community, saying thank you for sticking with the SSO and all of us through the challenges of the last year or two, last several years. It's been certainly a challenging time for the organization. We thought it was a wonderful time to do something important and to continue some of the really wonderful community outreach work we've been doing as a group throughout the year. And the Juneteenth holiday coming where it is, it seemed like a wonderful time to do that, especially tied to such a new national holiday. It was, of course, first declared a holiday in this Commonwealth, but then a national holiday just recently. So we thought it was a great time for us to put our orchestra and our brand behind this new holiday and do something celebratory in downtown Springfield with some beautiful music, combining many of the traditions we featured this year as we look to build new audiences for the future.
Now, it's not a typical classical music concert. You're bringing in Avery Sharp, who is local but nationally known in the world of jazz, and you're bringing in some other talent alongside the musicians. What's the program going to be like?
It's going to be a combination, we hope, of different formats of music. We've talked a lot, and you and I have already talked about this over the past months, Mark, about our need to diversify our musical offerings to the world, to showcase the real talents of the SSO musicians and family, but at the same time to attract audiences who perhaps want to be invited in to hear something new or something different. And we hope that once they come visit us for a concert, they'll be blown away, as I am, as I know you are, by the talent of our musicians and by the SSO performances. And we'll come back to join us for many other concerts in the future. This particular concert will be a combination of classical music, symphonic music, jazz, as you mentioned, and gospel. Choral, the Springfield Symphony Chorus will be joining us for parts of this. So there'll be a little bit of spoken word. It's really going to be kind of a potpourri of different formats and different musical offerings, which we hope will really help create a celebration around this important historic day and holiday, but at the same time give us a chance to showcase some of the many wonderful musical formats that we love to celebrate and play with the SSO.
And you're presenting this concert in the afternoon. And it is a federal holiday, so I assume that's going to ease up. People will be able to find parking near Symphony Hall, but it's also free. Am I correct?
Exactly right.
So
we made a deliberate choice to make this a free concert. Yeah. It is a national holiday. It's a state holiday. We're hoping that a lot of folks will come out. We're aware that, as we go ahead, it's one of the things we're looking at as we look at our season next year, that for some folks driving downtown, coming out at night is a challenge for them. We're going to try some different times of events upcoming, but in particular for this one, we wanted to make sure this is very much a family event. We'd love people to come downtown. We also happily have learned that there'll be on the steps of City Hall, which is just 2 doors down from Symphony Hall, right next door. There'll be a flag raising, Juneteenth holiday flag raising at 2:00 on June 19th. So that'll coalesce beautifully with our event. Folks can come to that flag raising, we hope, with Representative Bud Williams and Mayor Sarno and some other great people celebrating Juneteenth, recognizing Juneteenth, and then wend their way around the corner into Symphony Hall to join us for our beautiful concert at 3 o'clock.
So, Paul, to put together a concert costs a lot of money. I mean, and generally you have corporate sponsors and ticket sales, but this is a free concert, so there are no ticket sales. Who's picking up the tab for this? Because it's an expensive undertaking.
It sure is, and you know that very well, Mark. You've been around the arts a long time. It's an expensive thing to put on a symphonic concert. We've been blessed already to find some important corporate sponsors and private donors who are stepping forward to support this event. It's really gratifying to us to know that we're trying something new, and this is frankly a risk for us. We weren't sure how this would come out. We kind of jumped out of the plane, pulled the ripcord, and hoped the parachute's going to open. And happily, folks are responding very generously to support the event. Some great people have stepped forward in our community to offer support for the concert, and we are looking forward to thanking them, certainly on site, but also for some time to come, to build this family of people who understand what we're trying to do around building a sustainable future for the SSO. We think it's really important that these great people and our entire community come together to really put their arms around Springfield Symphony Orchestra, to build a vibrant future for this orchestra, not just today, not just tomorrow, but for many years to come.
You come from a theater world before you came to the symphony, and you also know that Springfield, you worked for the Basketball Hall of Fame, and Springfield touts itself as basketball, or it did for a long time, as Basketball City, USA, and all of that. But it seems that the arts in our area get not enough attention from city leaders and from people who have businesses downtown. When you go to Hartford, the first thing you learn is that they have 3 professional theaters, a symphony orchestra, a performance hall, and they tout everything about their culture to get you to come to Hartford. Or you go to the Berkshires, and we have a mass of great arts organizations, music, dance, theater, that are begging people to come to the Berkshires, and they're an integral part. And we have this wonderful orchestra here, but there doesn't seem to be the overwhelming support and excitement that the city does to bring people in. And when I talk to a lot of people in the city, and what makes Springfield great, they talk about the casino. And how do we make our arts, which is the reason that a lot of businesses want to be here, how do we make the arts more viable and visible in our community?
Well, I think it's really important that we all work together on that. I'm a great believer in rising tide lifting all boats. I think it's really critically important that all the key stakeholders in downtown Springfield and all of us who want to see a vibrant downtown life, which helps drive the economic engine of all the restaurants and hotels and businesses downtown, but at the same time just adds to the quality of life that you feel that when you're part of a really great city. And I'd love to see certainly MGM Springfield and the Basketball Hall of Fame and the Springfield Forums and the Springfield Museums and the Springfield Symphony Orchestra and everybody who has a vested interest in that coming together to find ways to encourage people to come downtown for all kinds of events, to eat at some of the great restaurants and enjoy the downtown is really beautiful around Court Square, as you know, and it's a really nice place to be, to walk and to be, especially on a June day like Juneteenth. I also think it's just really important, an emphasis point we can start to build collectively. If we put our minds to it and say, we are blessed to have all kinds of wonderful opportunities to celebrate the arts in downtown Springfield and our region that we live in. We live in a wonderful place. I've often said that to people. When my family moved here from New York, when I left the NBA to come work at the Basketball Hall of Fame, we knew that we'd be moving to a nice place. It's beautiful here in Western Massachusetts. We have found it's a better place than we knew. And I love to remind people what a good place we live, not just in terms of the beauty of the environment and the surrounding region and the beautiful weather we have and the beautiful things that are here, but the arts and the universities and the sports and the culture, and there's so many good things about where we live. that I think we have to collectively put that in our mindset to say, we're going to not just celebrate that, but we're going to find ways to really grow that awareness and encourage more people to come. There's so much great talent here up and down the valley. I think it's really important. I, of course, think that the Springfield Symphony Orchestra can be right at the top of that pyramid of showcased talent. The remarkable musicians who make up our SSO family. But also, I felt that way about the Basketball Hall of Fame. I think it's really important we all work together to get people to come downtown and come to, as I say, have a classy night out, come to a wonderful restaurant, and then come to a beautiful concert. It's something we all need to do. And we're going to have to find ways to support each other, whether it's other musical groups up and down the valley who we can help bring positive attention to, or folks who might like to step forward and support the SSO. I'd like to think that every business or everyone who cares about the quality of life of downtown Springfield, why this is a great place to live and work, and we want to continue to encourage young families and young professionals and people to make this their home, will say, what can I do to help support the SSO? Not everyone can write us a big check. We appreciate that. We'd love it, of course, if they could. we'd be always grateful for sponsorship or donors or whatever.
Well, you would
but
hope,
can they do something? Can they buy tickets? Can they bring their employees? Can they find some way to support what we're all trying to do? That'd be wonderful.
You would hope that people would take more pride in the fact that we have a world-class orchestra here in Springfield. And I think people that live in Springfield often put themselves down and put the city down. When I have friends that come from out of town that have never been here before, they're kind of intrigued by Springfield, things that I take for granted. The architecture downtown, it's a walkable city from one side to the other. There are some good restaurants. There's some beautiful, like Mattoon Street is just some beautiful old homes in the quadrangle and all of that. And Symphony Hall is an exquisite place to hear music.
Absolutely. And we also have a very rich history that I'd love to draw attention to, especially as Juneteenth allows us the opportunity, as we grow this event, which we hope will become an annual concert. I want to bring positive attention to the remarkable history of Springfield around the Underground Railroad and around the abolitionist movement and St. John's Church, some of the wonderful things that really should be not just noticed, but celebrated and discussed. And young people should have that sense of pride that they come from a remarkable city and a remarkable place. I might have mentioned to you before that I always joke that I have a mixed marriage and that I'm from the Boston area. My wife's from Central Texas. And when she went to elementary school, before they learned U.S. history, they learned Texas history because that was clearly more important. I think we have to do a really good job about pointing out Springfield history and some of the remarkable things about where we live. Like the game of basketball was invented on December 21st, 1891, right here in Springfield, and by some of these other really important historic realities that are worth not just noticing, but celebrating and drawing positive attention to. We live in a great place.
I agree. You just finished a year as the CEO of an orchestra. Is there one concert or one moment of this last season that resonated with you in a way that you did not expect?
Oh, so many of them, Mark. Every concert was so special to me, and I loved the energy we were feeling in Symphony Hall. I loved for our January concert, the Audacity of Hope concert, and our Mardi Gras concert in February, the real energy and diversity of the audiences that were being attracted, including a lot of folks who told me I'd never been to a Springfield Symphony Orchestra concert before, and it was, wow, this was great. They had a wonderful time. The first concert with Joanne Falletta this season was a world-class conductor. The beauty of the music. I mean, it's a special moment for me, and you've been part of that, where the rehearsals start. We have these rehearsals leading up, just a couple of days leading up to the concert, and I'm lucky enough to be in the hall, and all the musicians arrive, and they set up and they get themselves together, and the guest conductor comes out, taps the thing, and they start to play. And this beautiful music comes off the stage, and I find it almost overwhelming to hear the 65 members of the SSO playing. It's stunning. I've been blown away by the talent and the intelligence and the remarkable character of these guest conductors and guest artists who come to play with us, and who are thrilled to be here, thrilled to be playing with and leading the SSO. It really is very moving to me to be part of the whole organization. And I'm so proud of what we've done in the last year and our small but mighty team working here every day at the SSO to build the future for this organization. We love working with our musicians. We love working together with our board, our donors, our sponsors, our community. And so we look to a positive future with real pride and with a real hope for the future.
People that want to get tickets to the Springfield Symphony or donate or learn more about the orchestra or the musicians that are a part of it can go to the Springfield Symphony's website at springfieldsymphony.org. Paul, do people, I know the concert's free for Juneteenth. Do they need to have a ticket to go, or can they just show up?
We're encouraging people to order a ticket through our ticket system. Yes, we'd like, because just for crowd control, we want to know how many people are coming to make sure we're ready. And if we're not sold out, we will have tickets available at the door. But we'd encourage everybody, yes, please do go onto our website, springfieldsymphony.org. Go to our ticket page and get yourself a ticket, reserve your space. And we'll let you know if we do sell out. We'll certainly let everybody know ahead of time. But if there are tickets still available day of, we would encourage people to come downtown and still join us, because we'd love to have the place full for this beautiful concert.
Let's see if I can remember the phone number offhand. It's 413-733-2291.
You got it.
I got
exactly
it.
Right.
So
our friend Annie is standing by and would love to talk to you and help in any way.
She's standing by right now. We're going to take a quick break to acknowledge the underwriters that make Artsbeat possible. We'll be back to chat more with Paul Lambert. So while we do, go to their website or give them a buzz and learn more about this special Juneteenth concert that's free. Ken Stomsky is our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach, and we'll return after these messages.
This is Ken Stomsky from Ken's Den on WCPC 15 and 89.5 FM, Tuesdays, 8 to 10.
Community Radio, 89.5 WSKB.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio, 89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to Artsbeat, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach. Ken Stomsky is our engineer today. If you've missed a part of today's program or you want to watch it again or share it with friends, it's archived on YouTube under WSKB Community Radio. We're chatting with Paul Lambert, who's the CEO of the Springfield Symphony Orchestra, whose season has just ended, but they're extending it with a free concert, a Juneteenth concert, June 19th in the afternoon at Springfield Symphony Hall. And you can get tickets. It is free, but you should get your tickets in advance at springfieldsymphony.org or calling their box office at 413-733-2291. Paul, when will you guys be announcing your upcoming 2023-24 season?
We hope to have information available when people come to the Juneteenth concert, as a matter of fact. We hope to have rack cards and information about how they can get their subscriptions or start to line up. The beautiful season we have planned for next year, in which we'll hope to include a few extra surprises as we go ahead, like the Juneteenth concert we've just done here is an additional surprise. We're all excited about what we think is possible as we find, always it's about funds, always it's about what we can do, what we can find to pay our way. But we think it's really important that we stay aggressive right now as we've come out of these difficult years to work together to find new opportunities for our musicians to play, for our brand to grow, to show people the beautiful work that the SSO can do, but not just in Symphony Hall, but of course out in the community as well, finding different ways to showcase the remarkable musicians and talent of our SSO family. We're determined to start to do education work again, get back into the schools, develop, with the help of the city, education concerts to bring school children from Springfield and the area to Symphony Hall for a special concert this year. So there's a lot of wonderful things being planned for the new season, and we plan to announce those dates and those concerts in the very near future.
And bringing school kids into Symphony Hall for a concert, that was something the Symphony's done since its inception in the 40s.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many folks I've met since I got here who said, I remember that concert. I was in fourth grade. It was the first time I ever heard a symphony orchestra with so many people, including people who've gone on to great success and love of music and all like that. And that was their introduction to the world of symphony music.
It was for me. I remember our fourth grade class went down to Symphony Hall, sat in the second balcony. I don't remember what the program was, but I had never been to a live concert before.
Sure.
My mom had taken me to theater, but never had been to a symphony concert. And it was just kind of exciting. Plus, we got out of school for the day, but it's something I never forgot. And when I run into people, and because I, am dealing with musicians all the time, and they'll say, I went in the fourth grade to Springfield Symphony Hall to hear the symphony.
I'm delighted to hear that. And of course, I love fourth grade. I read to fourth graders in the schools for many years now. I happen to have an EDA fix about fourth graders, so I'm delighted to know as a fourth grader you went to the symphony. But we hope to have a broad range of young people and school people coming to hear us. A very special concert, which means we want to develop a curriculum, of course, leading up to that, and make sure that when they come in, it is a very special experience and part of a learning experience to really introduce them to the world of symphonic music in case they haven't heard it before. And the excitement, we always want to remind people it's exciting, it's fun to come to a concert. And we want to make sure that people remember that all the time. It's something to look forward to and get jazzed up to come downtown to a beautiful symphony hall to hear the Springfield Symphony Orchestra.
And it's amazing, that hall. I don't know if the hall was built to house a symphony. The hall is much older than there was a symphony then, but not this one. However they did it acoustically, it's a pretty incredible hall. You can be sitting in the last row on the side and hear things that are just perfect.
It's stunning. The acoustics are stunning, and the sight lines are beautiful, and it's just a classy hall to be in. Whenever we have our guest artists and our guest conductors come in and you take them on the stage and they look out into Symphony Hall the first time, there's that wonderful moment of them going, wow, this place is beautiful. And I, of course, enjoyed that for many years with the Basketball Hall of Fame and enshrinement ceremonies to bring the folks on stage and show them Symphony Hall the first time. It's just a remarkable gift to the city to have this beautiful building, this resource, just like the Springfield Symphony Orchestra. It's part of what we have to collectively embrace and really find ways to celebrate and take it full advantage of.
The symphony has gone through a lot of challenges in the last 5 years: funding challenges, marketing challenges, labor issues, and things are now starting to fall into place, partly because of your leadership and some new people that are involved in the board. How does the Springfield Symphony stack up in terms of other orchestras? Are they facing similar problems across the country, or is what's going on with Springfield sort of unique?
Certainly, it's been a very challenging time for the industry. Again, I'm reasonably new to this whole world. The reading I've done and the contacts I've made indicate that coming out of the pandemic in particular, this has been a very challenging year. New York Times had a big article about it even yesterday, about how coming into this season, a lot of really wonderful, famous big symphony orchestras really were panicking to a certain extent when their audiences were way down. We do know geographically and that there's certain symphonies around us that have struggled, and demographically, the audiences who have traditionally gone to symphony orchestras had been shrinking over the last several years, certainly at the SSO and well beyond us. But happily, there's also a turn. There seems to be turns as people are starting to, again, to discover the joys of coming to hear live music in beautiful halls. And by extending and growing the repertoire of musical offerings that we're making, there's certainly a real chance to get into those younger audiences who, as my beloved son Ben remarked, that is a classy night out. We don't get many of them. It's a lot of fun to go to. And to get younger generations to come in to check it out, to listen to the music, and to have a real wonderful time, it's pretty special. So we hope people can embrace that in many ways, and we can start to turn that tide around and to have the audiences grow rather than going the other way.
And the other thing we have to hope, and you and I work in nonprofits and have over the years, younger people are not used to being donors. They'll buy a ticket to something. They don't make long-term commitments. They don't subscribe necessarily. They'll go show by show. But to turn them into a donor, once you've invested in a nonprofit arts organization financially, you become a part of it. And you make a commitment commitment and you support it, it's a great feeling, first of all. It's a tax write-off for many people, second of all. But a long-term commitment will ensure that an organization like the Springfield Symphony or any of our other arts organizations survive. So people that are the 20s and 30s that are checking it out, if you have a little extra pocket money to round that ticket price over to make, for that contribution, makes a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I always tell folks that it's not about the money. Well,
it is about the money.
Of course, about the money, but we all need the money. But it's really more about the affirmation, that partnership, that sense that you're part of this with us. If any donations that folks can make to us, are so gratefully received, and we are very, very efficient here in how we use our dollars. We have our small team working like crazy to make sure we're very efficient in that use. But we love to have people, just the affirmation of someone saying, we get what you're trying to do. We get how important this is to the quality of life in downtown Springfield and our region. We understand what a gift it is in 2023, kind of a miracle that Springfield still has a symphony orchestra, a vibrant, excellent symphony orchestra. And for folks to step up and make any kind of a contribution to us, it's so gratefully received, but especially that affirmation of people understanding and being part of our team. It's really important to us all.
Paul, we're just about out of time, but before we do, let's remind people, June 19th, what is the curtain time for that show?
3 o'clock in the afternoon.
3 o'clock.
As I said, there'll be a flag raising at 2 o'clock on the steps of City Hall. Come right next door at 3 o'clock. Join us for Juneteenth concert, 3 o'clock on the 19th. SpringfieldSymphony.org or 413-733-2291. Paul Lambert, thanks for being here today. I know that once this Juneteenth concert is up and running, you probably have a week or two to go enjoy summer. Is there a summer theater or summer music festival we'll see Paul Lambert at this year? I certainly will be visiting the Cape Playhouse, my old stomping grounds, at some point this summer. I'm still very deeply connected to that one, and I hope to visit my original place of employment when I was 14 years old, the Algonquin Playhouse up in Maine, that I grew up in, working as a baby stagehand, and I love the Algonquin Playhouse. And I hope to visit at least those two parts of my past. With great care and love. It's a joy always to be there.
Paul, thanks for being with us today. See you on the 19th at Springfield Symphony Hall.
Thanks so much, Mark. We really appreciate the help.
We're going to take a break to acknowledge our underwriters, and we'll be back with more Artsbeat, so don't go away.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio 89.5 WSKB.
I did it! Join us every Thursday morning
from 6 until at least 7:30.
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show
right here on WSKB 89.5.
Community Radio 89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to Artsbeat, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach. Ken Stomsky is our engineer today. If you've missed a part of today's program or you want to watch it again or share it with friends, it's archived on YouTube under WSKB Community Radio. My guest this half hour is Kristen van Ginhoven, who is the co-founder of Wham Theater. And Wham Theater has just finished a run of What the Constitution Means to Me, a co-production with Berkshire Theater Group, which Kristen directed. And as the show is running, she's announced that after 14 years at the helm of Wham, she's resigning to move on to other opportunities. And I've got to say that, Kristen, I don't think of this as an exit interview kind of show, because I know that our paths will continue to cross for years and years and years. But when you sit back and think of all the things that you've accomplished in 14 years, and you've taken Wham, which is a really unique theater, and put it on the map to the point that it now partners with theaters like Berkshire Theater Group, or takes a tour of a show like Anne to Arena Stage in Washington and to Dallas, and all the accomplishments and the money that WHAM has raised for nonprofits in the area that serve and provide services to women and kids. It's just a palette of wonderful things. I'm speechless when I think of all the stuff you've done.
Oh, thank you for such wonderful words of affirmation and support, and for having me on again. It's always a pleasure to see you and to share space with you. And, I'm at WHAM until the end of this year. So we have a good 6-7 months to continue to converse and share. And then, we'll see where life takes me next. But I'm deeply, deeply proud of the foundation that WHAM has under my leadership, and birthing and growing her has certainly been the most fulfilling and meaningful and impactful experience of my professional life so far. So I'm excited to see where my next steps will be, and where I can take everything that I've learned here and hopefully have that be of service somewhere else.
When you look back at what you've accomplished and your team has accomplished in 14 years, when you started WHAM, did you think it would grow to this level or be like this? Or did it evolve in different ways than you had imagined?
Oh, completely evolved in different ways than I could have imagined. No, it's a typical passion nonprofit at the beginning, born out of inspiration, born out of passion, a desire to be part of trying to affect change. And the fact that it has become what it is, I think after about 4 years or so, I started to get a sense that this could be a viable professional theater, social justice theater. This could be a unique professional theater with our activist mission. It could be a model for how theater can affect change, specifically in our case for women's issues. But no, I never could have imagined that over the course of 14 years, like I've raised almost $4 million or so, no, that's, or all of the, accomplishments that you mentioned. But I did realize that I had some natural skill. I'm a daughter of 2 entrepreneurs who had various businesses at different times and did well, did poorly, the journey of an entrepreneur. I had some skills around that I didn't know. And here we are. How
has the shape of theater changed in the 14 years? When you started at WHAM, there were other artistic leaders in the theaters in Western Massachusetts where women were at the helm of the theaters. Shakespeare and Company was one, Berkshire Theater Group being another, and I think for a time Williamstown. But now we have many theaters. Hartford Stage has got artistic directorship that women are running, and more plays by women are being produced, and more women designers are coming to the forefront. I know we have a long way to go, but how do you feel we've accomplished at this point during your tenure?
That's a big question, and thank you for covering me while I coughed. I got something. The allergies are really acting up, so I got something in my
that's
throat
why
there.
I'm taking a sip of coffee now myself.
I see it in 2 ways, because in some ways I think we've gone backwards, obviously. When you look at the national landscape and Dobbs and women having to leave the workforce during the pandemic, and childcare continuing to be such an issue, and access to reproductive health is such a divide in our country. So in some ways, I think it's gotten a lot worse, honestly. But in other ways, of course, we see more progress. There's something in what the Constitution means to me, which I hold on to, which actually runs until June 4th at Berkshire Theater Group's Unicorn
but this show airs after that closes.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. So, in some ways, what you're mentioning is true. We're seeing, women of color produced on Broadway in multiple numbers, which is not something we've seen before. And we're seeing higher budget theaters hire women, but they are still, it's still the exception and not the rule. And we still are not at a place where the number of plays produced that are by women identifying playwrights is anywhere near equal, or that the opportunities provided to women identifying theater artists are anywhere equal. So I think it's sort of like when Obama became president and we said that, racism was no longer an issue, and clearly that has been proven not to be the case. And so I would say that that's the same here, which is why plays like What the Constitution Mean to Me remain so relevant and will be relevant in another 10 years, 20 years, 30, 40, 50 years. I don't see this issue going away, but I do see us, as she says, as the main character of Heidi says in the play, that, we continue to move forward. There's a woman walking along the beach and there's a dog walking with her, and the dog keeps running ahead of her and then looping back and running ahead of her and then looping back. But if you look at the woman, she's just steadily moving forward. And I would like to believe that that's true. We're steadily moving forward. And you see many examples of that. Every generation stands on the shoulders of the generation before in the ways that they helped us be at the table or build a new table or extend the table, So I feel that I can argue both sides of that one.
I know that you're going to leave Wham in good hands. You've got a great team of people that work with you. Do you have an interest at this point in starting another Wham somewhere else, or do you want to try something totally new and different?
Well, I think you'll appreciate this. I've had 14 years of being what I call at Wham the Energizer Bunny of a grassroots organization, and there are days where I'm cleaning the bathroom and doing a $50,000 theater ask on the same day. There are days where I'm ordering the office supplies and greeting patrons at the show. And I'm ready to have a break from doing all of those things. I think everybody after a decade of doing something needs to adjust what they're doing in some ways. And I do think if I can have a few years where I don't have to do A to Z, maybe I will be ready. I'm certainly entrepreneurial in spirit. I certainly love to be in control of my own time and craft my own journey. And I am insatiably curious about learning new things. And I like to be involved in all aspects of an organization. But at the moment, my energy is such that, I need to be somewhere where there is sufficient resources to allow me to focus on just, M to P or, D to M, and know that there is, and we have, like you said, it's an extraordinary team and board at Wham, but it's still a $500,000 organization. And there's still, the next artistic leader who comes in gets the opportunity to work with Molly Merrihew, our managing director, and Tony Buckley and Erica Barreto, our president and vice president of the board, to move Wham, to deepen Wham and sustain us at this level and hopefully grow us to a higher level so that we can provide more benefits to our employees and pay our part-time employees health care and take that next step in building the walls of a house. And I'm ready to move into a house that has been built where I'm focused on renovating one room or, ensuring the function of one room, or that I am in charge of ensuring that the house remains in place, but that there's a great, robust, sustained team that is able to keep it going in its own way. And so we'll see where that leads me.
Well, before you leave, you have to do a series of play readings that you've set up for this year. So what are some of the plays that you're workshopping and doing as readings during the course of the Wham season?
Well, our Fresh Takes New Play Festival is curated by Talia Kingston, our extraordinary associate artistic director, who is just a literary phenom. I can genuinely say that Wham's seasons would not be the same if we haven't had her dramaturgical expertise and literary expertise over the last 5 years. So she curates and produces the Fresh Take series, and she's also a playwright. And so she, after much pushing and prodding, has agreed, because we really wanted to include her play Port of Entry in our Fresh Takes play reading series. So for 3 consecutive weekends in July, I believe starting July 16th, at the Mount on Sunday afternoons at 3, you can come and see 3 new plays. One is called In Her Bones, which is a very interesting play. And then it's Port of Entry by Talia. And then the Hollow Roots. And I think I have the order wrong. I think we start with Hollow Roots, yes, and then we go to Port of Entry and In Her Bones. So Christina Anderson is a playwright we've been following for a while, and this is a lovely, Hollow Roots is a play that's performed with live musical accompaniment. It's a solo play that's very poetic, and it questions the notions of a post-racial society by looking at woman's quest to understand her identity. And she challenges herself to ask whether a person of color can have a neutral identity. And then that flows into Talia's Port of Entry, which takes place in the back office of a small New England airport, where a TSA agent is training a newbie on the first day of what we will remember was known as the Muslim ban. And then a Muslim woman named Jana arrives on a flight, and they all become entangled in the ripple effects of this mandated ban by that government. So it questions who's protecting our country, who are they protecting it from? And then we finish with In Her Bones on July 30th. And that takes place in Colorado, where there's a young Berkeley freshman named Mia who is confronting a past that she's both fleeing and seeking out. So it explores this complicated legacy of crypto-Judaism in the Southwest. And it's really interesting around like faith and family secrets and how do we pass on culture when written records are too dangerous to keep. And that's directed by Estefania Fadul, who we've had an ongoing relationship with. And Hollow Roots is directed by Trenda Lofton, and Port of Entry by Amy Brentano. And all 3 directors are women identifying artists that WHAM has had a long-standing relationship with. So those start in July. Every Sunday, there's 100 seats. You can buy a bundle for all 3. And Talia has curated this festival and generously and vulnerably agreed to include her play.
One of the things that makes WHAM unique is the fact that but WHAM donates a certain percentage of its box office receipts to a not-for-profit organization that provides needed services to women and children. I know that you've raised a lot of money to go to nonprofits. How many nonprofits have you been able to support in that 14 years?
Yeah, we were actually adding this up. It's about 25 or over 25, locally, nationally, internationally. In the last few years, we've really focused on local or national, but a lot of local nonprofits, and started with the idea of donating the portion of the box office proceeds, which we still do, but it has become much more of a relationship about how can WHAM be a spoke in the wheel of this extraordinary work that all these organizations are doing on the front lines, and how can our play help bring awareness to the issues? How can the donation, for what the Constitution means to me, Elizabeth Freeman Center was the recipient, and we also gathered items that they require. Folks often show up there with nothing, and so we gathered toiletries and sheets and various things that our audience dropped off: shampoo, toothpaste, T-shirts, and then we also made a donation. So it has become this collaborative relationship of people who are out there working on women's issues. And one of the ways in which we support their work is by making a donation, but it's also grown into other ways of advocating and bringing awareness to the work that they're doing. Did you seek out these organizations, or did they find you? Mostly we seek them out. I mean, honestly, the committee that has, it's been an evolving way of finding and selecting our recipients, but most recently we really dove into the process, and it's a really interesting blog on our website about it. And we start from the play and the themes of the play, and we see, or we start from the issues in our community, and we find a play that's going to help illuminate and like we did with Pipeline in 2019. We find a play that helps us illuminate the school to prison pipeline and use storytelling as another way to shed some light and bring some awareness to the issue. And once we what the Constitution means to me, one of the themes, one of the story arcs is about a family moving through and healing from intergenerational trauma connected to intimate violence. So it made sense that the Elizabeth Freeman Center, which has always been such a vital source in our area for access, but during the pandemic even more so, was just the natural people for that. And then we reach out to the organizations and we see if they want to be the recipient, whether that's something that they want to agree to be or not. So far, most people have said yes, and we work out kind of what's doable for them. We often try to have them included in the press release or have a blog or a video about them, invite them and their board to the show. So we make sure, these are hardworking people dealing with life saving issues. And so we want to make sure that they feel that they have the bandwidth and time to take it on.
So while we're talking about WHAM and we're talking about your career, we should tell people where they can get information about WHAM and everything else.
Absolutely. whamtheater.com is the best place to go. It's our sort of collection of everything. So WAMTHEATRE.com. And you can find everything you would like to know about WHAM there.
And they can also buy tickets for the play reading series at the Met.
Yes, they can buy tickets there. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. We have a Vimeo channel and a YouTube channel. But yeah, the best ways to purchase tickets for the Fresh Takes play reading series. We're also going to be having a cabaret event in the fall that we'll be sharing more information about soon from November 1st to the 4th. But that'll be a really fun evening of empowering songs about women and our different journeys through life. And so that will be November 1st to the 4th at the Bernstein Theater at Shakespeare and Company. So hopefully we'll be able to do well with that as we have with Constitution, and that will help us continue to move our way past these last few years, which have been so troubling and challenging for all arts organizations.
But WHAM has survived along. I don't think we've had any arts organizations in our neighborhood that have, well, maybe one or two that have actually gone under during the pandemic. I think just about everybody else survived. Maybe not thrillingly so, but, everybody's standing, if you want to put it that way.
Everybody is standing in a wobbly manner at this point. I do think that the next few years will really determine whether audiences are coming back, choosing to continue to support the arts. Our habits have changed. Our society has changed. We have different requirements as a human race going forward. And so the next few years will really determine, but yes, we are, as a national sector, we're certainly all discussing, like, how can the next 5 years, how can we continue to survive? Because the fact that we're still standing now is not due to audience members coming back to the theater. It's due to federal support that we need to be very grateful for. And it's due to donors stretching and stepping up and believing that the arts must continue. But there's a lifeline to there's an end to that. And so we need to continue to, especially as we all are understanding that we have to adjust our practices, as well as I do. Art has existed for as long as it has off of the backs of not paying people nearly enough and overworking people. And so this is no longer, everyone has done it to a different degree across many sectors. And in order for us to, and we're excellent problem solvers. So we have created incredible art, but there have been consequences, and the new generation of workers is not going to accept that culture, and so that requires more money. and more collaboration.
When you think about it, when we both started in theater, you do an internship, an unpaid internship to get credit in summer stock and things like that. And some theaters, like Williamstown Theater Festival, depended on free labor from their interns and apprentices, I think they were called, to make good. People can't do that anymore.
No, and we never should have had to do it in the first place, but art is not as valued in our society as some other sectors. And so this is the way that, we have kind of made it work. But the truth is, and you know this, that when the nonprofit theater sector started, it was meant to be just like libraries for the common good. It was meant to be subsidized and supported by the government. And as time has gone on, art is always the first thing on the chopping block. And so then in order to continue to provide the art, we have, turned to things like this, and we can no longer do that. And I actually, this has been a great time. Donors understand, people understand, everyone needs to make a living wage. And when you think about the federal minimum wage, who can live on that?
You can't.
It's really
You can't.
disgusting. So there's much work to be done. And the next 5 years, I don't believe every theater will still be standing. We definitely are resilient and enterprising and creative. So I think there will be a lot more collaborations like the one that we had with Berkshire Theater Group. That was really terrific. And there'll be more of that.
No, I think that the nonprofits that can collaborate and come up with new projects will survive. And I also think that the commercial theater, Broadway, will still be here. As long as there's star power and there's money to be made, in that idea, well, if we invest in the show, we're going to get a return on our money. There will be Broadway, but a lot of small theaters and small nonprofits are just not going to make it.
Yeah, and I would posit that some of the larger ones aren't going to either. I mean, we're seeing a lot of the shows close, even on Broadway. We're seeing the patterns of, the only things that are selling are big musicals or star-studded things. And where does that leave room for the come from heres, right? Or for the Hades towns, which are not so star-studded, but really important works for our time.
Or shows like the Thanksgiving play, which you all did a reading of that, right? Was it a full?
We did. Talia directed a really wonderful one.
And that went on to New York. I don't know if it stayed or not, but it was.
It had a limited run to begin with, and it has done very well, from what I understand.
Yeah.
But what very well means in terms of return on investment, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of shows that need to be seen get critically acclaimed and don't make it, whether it's in the nonprofit or the commercial sector.
Or the other way around, right? A lot of shows, the critics who are still mostly of a certain kind of identity are not understanding it. And you've seen the controversy play out over social media just as we have, of there are plays that are being embraced by the public that the critics are panning. Because they don't get it, they don't understand it, because we don't have a diverse enough pool of critics.
And that's a big problem. I mean, I am not reviewing a lot these days, but when I go to the theater and I see who my fellow reviewers are, there are not a lot of reviewers of color. There are not a lot of women reviewing. It's mostly white men, and 10 people can see the same play and come away with 10 completely different reviews. But we have to have, in my industry, we have to have more people and more reviewing, and a younger group of people coming up the ranks that are going to offer different visions and voices. And it's not there.
Right. Exactly right. And that really affects the ability to turn the wheel of the Titanic of the kind of plays that are going to be shared with our audiences and help inform. I mean, to do what the Constitution means to me alongside all these other theaters in the country the year before a presidential election is fantastic. To find a values aligned piece of art that also succeeds at the box office is amazing. And it's written by a middle-aged white woman, right? It really appeals to a specific kind of audience. She meets people where they're at brilliantly. But then there are other plays written by people who are not white, who are just as important, which are just as important to see, which are not successful in that way. And so there's a long way to go.
So we only have a minute left here, Kristen. So December comes around and you hand over the keys to somebody else after a national search. Is it going to be, I'm going to take a vacation and figure things out? Or do you have other irons in the fire at this point?
Well, I have no idea where my next right yes will come from. So I'm planting a lot of seeds with everyone I know, including on this program, right? That I'm hoping some opportunities will come to me, and I'm watering a bunch of seeds, and we'll see where things come from. I do hope I get the opportunity to take a little bit of time off. I'm trying to work to make that happen. But the reality is I have bills to pay, so I can't do that for very long. Right now, I can still live in the I don't know phase. And then as time gets shorter, I don't know, the panic will set in. But I feel I am a manifester, and I have a mantra, which I can share with you, that I have to trust that the person that I am, the community I've built, and the skills that I have will lead to an opportunity filled with purpose, impact, and financial freedom.
That sounds great to me. And I hope you get a little time off to just relax. I mean, we live in a great area, and to be able to partake of all the great things that happen around here is just the best.
Yes, that would be lovely. And I know myself well enough to know that I'll need community pretty soon. So hopefully there'll be an opportunity that appears that my whole body is like, yes, you know, and if that doesn't happen, then I know that I have the ability to create an opportunity. So either way, something will come up. That's how life works.
So you want to learn what Kristen's doing in the last few months that she's at Wham and their great playwriting series and their cabaret this fall. Go to whamtheater.com. Kristen van Ginhoven, thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much, Mark. Have a wonderful weekend.
Good to see you. And this wraps up another edition of Artsbeat. Ken Stomsky has been our engineer today. I'm Mark Auerbach. We'll see you next week with another all-new edition of Artsbeat TV and Radio.
So, Kimberly is Kimberly, and Levaco is
Levaco.
Oh. I'm going to start with the K first because that's one of the hardest letters.
Oh.
Oh. Kilo.
Oh.
Killer, cola, E. coli, broken, yoko, yam, yak, lamb. Oh, I just found mackerel!
I like the way you see the world. I like your point of view. A little sly, a little strange, a little bit askew. I like the way you look at life and think outside the box. A little odd, a little off, a bit unorthodox.
Lib, yeah.
I like your point of view.
Yeah, yicky, Mickey, Ricky, icky.
I like the way you make a point. I like your frame of mind. A little quick, a little sharp, a little beat behind. I like the way you crack a joke that no one else will get. A little dry, a little droll, a little dumb, and yet
Okra, cobra, marble, barley.
I like your point of view.
Bravo, cello, limo, Rio, macro, micro, mayo, bakery.
Oh, with the turn of a letter. Oh, everything's better. I wonder how you see the things you see with a change of perspective. Nothing's defective. I wonder what you see when you look at me.
Me, my eyeball, icky earlobe. Over, clover, liquor, lickable, likable, lovable, livable, liver, my liver, my Oliver, my locker, my blocker, my blacker olive, my rockable veil, my crab like love. Oh, that's awful.
I like the way you understand. I like the way you think. A little weird, a little wise, a little out of sync.
Clever, ever, clever. Wait a minute.
I like your point of view.
Clever, cleaver, limber, Kimberly.
I like.
Kimberly Lavaco turns into.
I like.
Cleverly akimbo.
You.
Cleverly akimbo.
You.
That's a pretty good one. I did my grandmother's name and got Arabian beard.